Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for listening. If you're listening on Saturday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. Central, then you're listening live, and I appreciate it very much, either on locally in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas metro area at 96.5 FM, The Answer, or anywhere in the world via the online stream at 96.5 FM, theanswer.com, or maybe you're listening by podcast or delayed on Krypton Radio. Regardless, I'm just really glad you're here. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. This is my weekly hour to geek out to the world, and you can come along with me, so love it very much. Normally, we're live. Last week's show wasn't, but this week is. So if you happen to be listening on Saturday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. Central, you can call in and join the fun at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet at me on Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays. ShanePlays, or you can always, that's also if you go to shaneplays.com, that's the blog and website that supports all of the Shane Plays goodness. We got some more housekeeping notes to get to, but first I'll introduce my guest that's going to be with us today, and that is my friend David Baity, who, if you're a longtime listener of the show, then you probably associate with a game called MegaWars, so we'll get an update later in the show from David on MegaWars. But David is also kind of up to speed on space stuff, and we're talking today about SpaceX and the Falcon Heavy and Mars or bust. That's today's theme, is Mars or bust. We're heading to Mars. David, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
So I'm going to test your.
I'm ready to bust. Man,
yeah.
Mars is the place to be, right?
Mars is the place to be if you're going to bust. So let's take up his volume just a little bit there, Zach. I know we were adjusting it before the show. So I'm going to test your musical trivia.
Oh no, I know nothing about music.
There was a little 30-second clip from a song from the 80s I played before the show opened. Did you recognize that?
Yeah, but I've forgotten it already.
Okay.
That's what happens when you get over 50.
You forget. So that was a little song called Pump Up the Volume, and the band is Mars, Marrs. So that was a little Mars intro to kind of set the tone for today. So that was a big hit in the 80s. So
you could have chose Sammy Hagar's song too, Marching to Mars.
I could have, but I have more of a personal connection with Pump Up the Volume.
Okay.
So, there will be there will be a selection of sound clips today to help support the Mars stuff. So we'll talk later in the show about, maybe you even have, it sounds like you have sort of a personal connection to SpaceX in some way, and then we'll just talk in general about the coolness that happened a couple of weeks back with the Falcon Heavy launch. This show was actually supposed to happen 2 or 3 weeks ago. And at the last minute, I ended up deciding to go with a replay. We were having the transmitter problems. We had the whole weird phone call, Zach, with the disguised voice, and that was all very strange. Very strange. So anyway, we're back. It's just like a real space mission. Sometimes you have to scrub at the last minute and decide on another launch window. So that is what we have done today. And we will get a MegaWars update from David, but we'll talk mainly about the Falcon Heavy, SpaceX, what's cool about it, maybe some little facts or trivia that people don't know surrounding SpaceX and the Falcon Heavy launch. So that'll be really neat. So we got to throw out some show notes, but really quick, David. On a scale of 1 to 10, right? You personally, right? Not how excited should people be or whatever, but you personally, how excited were you by the Falcon Heavy launch?
I was very excited about it. We were in Florida at the time. And we saw a bunch of people stopping the cars, and all of a sudden I realized what time it was. By the time I got stopped, we had missed it, but you could see the smoke trail. So,
well, but I mean,
kind of cool.
So, but aside
but
from
on a scale, I was told scale of 1 to 10.
No. Well, let me just
10.
make sure that I'm setting this up right for you. Not the fireworks of it, but what it means for space exploration, what the achievement basically means. Like overall, how important is this to you personally?
It's huge.
Right.
I mean, it's what they've done is absolutely kind of amazing. I don't know if you know much about it, but when they strap those rockets together, there's 27 engines going off at one time. Okay. Now think of making the alignment on your car. If the alignment on your wheels is off just a little bit, it starts pulling to the right or left. Imagine 27 engines getting them to align properly.
Yeah, I do know that if you go look up, information on the Falcon Heavy, it is without a doubt the highest thrust, rocket, if you will. But like you said, it's actually an amalgam of multiple rockets. And I think the reason, because they have like a Falcon rocket, and then they kind of worked out a way to get 2 or 3 of them. I think 3 of them together, and that's why they call it the Falcon Heavy. But yeah, the amount of thrust that it creates is never been done before.
Actually, it has.
Has it? Is it the cost ratio?
Saturn V just, I mean, you could. It's huge difference.
Okay, but
Saturn V is much bigger. Okay. But as a commercial,
that's what it is.
Non-government rocket, yes, it is. Governments can build things bigger because they have more money. So, I mean, that's where it comes from, right? Right.
Yeah, I knew it. Like, it set a standard for. I think it wasn't just the amount of thrust, but it was the cost to apply that thrust to get something into space. Because SpaceX is a commercial venture, right?
It's a commercial venture, and well, see, that's the key. I mean, we've been using Delta 4s for a long time. They have a Delta 4 Heavy that's going to come in at about $350 million to launch. Okay, Falcon Heavy's estimating to be about $90 million because they're reusable. Okay, and what Musk has done is not necessarily break new ground. He's used things that other people have used before in the past. I mean, back in the early 80s, they were looking to use reusable rockets, and instead of landing them vertically, they would drop parachutes, open up parachutes, and then they had airbags basically on the bottom. And so they'd drop them down into the water so that they could recover and reuse them. That's the key. These engines and everything else are hugely expensive. So if you can recover it, refuel it, and then relaunch it, I mean, that was the main point of the space shuttle.
Right. Yeah, that is that the recoverability is a huge part of why this is such a huge success, because it drives costs down. And whether idealism has to meet reality somewhere, and money, is you got to have money to do this stuff. You want to launch stuff into space. You want to go to Mars. You want to get your satellite up. You want to go build a base on the moon. Whatever it is, that at a certain level, money plays a factor. So, doing a reusable launch system with that much thrust is huge. So, all right, let me get some show notes in here real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Falcon Heavy and Mars or Bust and all that good stuff. But I did want to let people know, if you're listening to the podcast or the Krypton radio version of today's show, then the show notes and links will be up at shaneplays.com, and that's ShanePlays.com. Last week's show is currently archived on the blog, and that was actually a replay. I had to, not a replay, it was a pre-recorded show that, due to coordinating with my guest, we weren't able to make it happen live, but it was a fantastic show, one of my favorite interviews I've done, and it was the Star Trek Continues wrap party, and we had Michelle Specht, who plays Dr. McKenna, and Chuck Huber, who plays Bones on Star Trek Continues. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it, and they really they really shared a lot that was very interesting to me, not only about Star Trek, but about them personally, what their favorite episodes were, what their dream projects are. We got into cryptocurrency. We got into, will lawyers be needed in the future? We got into morality-based science and why that's important. So it's a fantastic show. If you...
It sounds like they had fun together too.
Yeah. It was a great time.
I mean, really,
yeah,
it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good show, and we had a lot of people sent in well wishes and goodbyes and love to Chuck and Michelle and Star Trek Continues in general, and we shared that. So fantastic show. I'd have to say, I mean, I love all my guests, I love all my shows, but some shows just for whatever reason, they're just, I don't know, they hit a note that they don't know, and this is one of my top shows I've ever done. I really enjoyed it. I really recommend people go check it out. Now the podcast is available. It's a live show. Like I said, you can call in at 501-823-0965 or tweet me at Shane Plays if you'd like to be part of the conversation. But the show does go out as a podcast. It's a live show first, podcast second. But I love both formats. And the podcast will go up on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more, including YouTube. Find the Shane Plays YouTube channel. I think it's youtube.com/GoShanePlays. And I also, among other videos that I create, I also put the show up there. And last, but never, ever, ever least, Shane Plays is carried on David, our mutual acquaintance, Gene Turnbow's Krypton radio show. So, his channel, his Krypton radio station, 24/7 internet geek radio. Krypton radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. Sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. KryptonRadio.com. I got a sponsor note here, and then we're going to do a PSA. Shane Plays sponsor Arkansas RPG Con 2018 badge sales are now open. Vendor and sponsorship options are also open. Go to arpgcon.com for more info, and make sure to follow Arkansas RPG Con on Facebook. Now, this is not a sponsor, but it's a good cause, so I'm going to do them a PSA, a public service announcement. Heroes and Angels Comic-Con is coming up, and we actually had, when we were talking about the cosplay fraud that happened here just before Thanksgiving, one of the organizations that got caught in the middle of that was Heroes and Angels. And so they're doing Heroes and Angels Comic-Con on April 28th. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Greenbrier Event Center. Heroes and Angels Comic-Con. You don't want to miss this. Tons of activities for the kids, special guests, and free admission. Donations will be accepted, and all proceeds go to Heroes and Angels, a nonprofit organization that provides assistance to families affected by childhood cancer and to military families in need. So when that guy, there was a show I did a couple of months back, and this guy was awful. In fact, I'm still doing stuff to try to help get the word out and track this guy down. But he basically put on a con, ran with the money, and literally took money from that was supposed to go to families with kids and cancer. So if you want to help out, if that touched you and you want to help out, this is a great way to help out Heroes and Angels here with their Comic-Con on April 28th. So just a good way to, let's have some good come out of the bad there. All right, Mr. Zach. Now, David, I don't know if you know this or not, but, the head of our news team, his grandmother and her dog Muffin, if I don't banter with Zach, they get really upset at me.
Oh.
And then if the quality of the banter is not good, they get upset with me.
Uh-oh.
So last week was a pre-recorded show, so I didn't get to banter with Zach.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, Zach, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't get an email. I didn't get a letter. I didn't get a postcard. I didn't get any strange phone calls. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but my gut tells me it might not be good because there was just nothing. So you got to help me this week. You got to dig me out of the hole, man.
Yeah.
You got to dig me out of the hole. All right. So I dropped this on you before the show, and you were like, "Wow, that's impressive. You didn't know this." So I'm gonna talk with you a little bit about it more, and then and include people in. Chuck Huber who plays Bones on Star Trek Continues and does a lot. If you go check out his work, he's done a lot of work.
Yeah.
And he wants to talk cryptocurrency. And I'm researching cryptocurrency right now. Not just, hey, I want to get rich, but the blockchain technology and smart contracts. Very, very powerful and fascinating stuff. And it turns out and he's going to come on the show. We're going to do a cryptocurrency show. But it turns out I was looking through his stuff, and as I shared with you, he does a lot of voice acting. And he is the voice of Android 17 and Garlic Jr. and others on Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And you were very impressed with that.
Definitely by Android 17.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the most popular characters in the universe there.
And Chuck's been on the show 2 or 3 times now.
Right.
Never even come up.
Just can't believe it.
And isn't that weird? And I was like, oh, well, Android 17. Little character named Android 17 by Chuck Huber.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So
that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Never even, because I've had him on about Star Trek stuff. Never even thought to, I brought it. I was like, you're a voice actor, right? And he's like, yeah. But he's never been like, I did this voice, that voice.
Yeah.
Most of the Star Trek, or a lot of the Star Trek Continues folks are voice actors, and that's how they kind of met and started doing that. Yeah. So anyway, all right. So Zach, I went and saw. A buddy of mine came into town, so I got to take the day off yesterday. It was kind of unexpected. It was nice. We went and saw a movie. Have you seen Annihilation yet?
I just saw that on Thursday.
Dude, okay. Have you seen it, David?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well,
you're going to yell at me, but I haven't even seen the latest Star Wars yet. So
hey, you can drop the connection over there, right, Zach? You
yeah.
Can just, okay, because that's one strike. That's one. No, I'm kidding with you, David. All right, Zach. So here's real quick, Annihilation. That was like a sci-fi movie. It wasn't a horror movie. It was a sci-fi movie, but there were 2 or 3 horrifying scenes in that movie.
Correct.
Horrifying. Like, I was so horrified, I was like, well, that was horrifying, because I couldn't process what was happening.
Yeah.
What did you think of Annihilation?
I thought it was a very good movie. I just didn't know what to expect going into
I had no idea what to expect.
Exactly. And to tell you the truth, I mean, thinking about it, I still don't know how to think about it, what to say about it. Like I said, it's very good.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. It's just one of those films where you got to think about it so much, and it's very good. I guess you got to make up your own opinion, and
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just crazy.
But it was, I just kept looking over at my friend and go, well, that was horrifying. And I was just like stunned, right?
Right.
And it's not a horror movie.
It's not.
But man, okay. Anyway, all right. So I would say Annihilation's not for everybody.
Exactly.
But it was good. And I'm pretty sure it's the same guy that did Ex Machina did Annihilation. I'm pretty sure. And it hit. Now, it's not the same kind of movie. I don't want to steer people wrong here.
True.
But it hit some of the same notes as The Arrival a little bit, if you think about it. There was like relationship dynamics and going into this crazy unknown situation and mixing in scenes of just normal everyday. So anyway, okay. And we can't not mention Black Panther. Okay. It's blowing the doors off of the box office.
Yep.
I thought it was very good. I thought I like the villain. The reason I like the villain is he's a good villain and he's evil.
Yeah.
But I understand where he's coming from.
Exactly.
They did a good job. But he's evil. You can't excuse what he's doing.
Exactly.
But you saw how he got there.
Exactly.
Right? He's still making his own choices. Here's my thing on Black Panther. I think it was very good. A lot of people are like, it's amazingly relevant and it'll change the way you think about things. I'm like, it's not on that level. I'm sorry, it's not. But it's a good action superhero, great Marvel movie.
I totally agree, because Thor Ragnarok last year was as good as this movie. Yeah,
exactly. But everyone's like, Black Panther, it's going to change the way. And let's be honest, it's because there's a lot of sort of social stuff in the mix. Fair enough.
I agree.
But it's not that for me.
No,
but I thought it was a fantastic Marvel movie.
I agree.
That's where I was at.
Nothing more.
Yeah. But I feel like, in fact, my friend and I were talking about this yesterday. There's so much social stuff mixed up in it right now that he's like, I wonder if a reviewer sees it and doesn't like it if they dare write a bad review about it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
that is a very interesting point.
Yeah, but it's a good movie.
Exactly.
It's a very good movie. Okay. So we'll swing back over into Falcon Heavy. I did want to give a shout out to Kevin Smith. On some minuscule chance he hears this, Kevin, I'm glad you're okay. We've never met, but I've said often on this show that your movies and the stuff you do is one of the reasons that geek culture is so mainstream now. If you had never done your movies and the different things that you do, it wouldn't be what it is now. I probably wouldn't have this show. Geek culture wouldn't be as mainstream and as popular as it is without all the stuff that Kevin Smith is. And I'm not saying he's the only, but he's a major pillar in that over the past 20 years or so.
He's the king of Greek culture.
Of Greek?
Of geek.
So he puts olive oil on everything? I'm just messing with you. No, I'm just kind of so he's the king of geek culture. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's the king, and I can't remember the girl's name right now. The redhead that did the Guild series.
Yeah, you're talking about. I would know right off the top of my head if you hadn't have asked me. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day. Now she's the queen.
Yeah, she's the queen. All right.
Geek culture.
Well,
okay.
go ahead.
I don't know if anyone can argue that because
I don't know if I would argue she's the queen. I'd have to think about that. But she's definitely.
Who do you think that's geekier than her?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it because I've thought about Kevin Smith being much more than. I'm not saying you're wrong. I would have to step back and think about it. But she's definitely done a lot of cool geek stuff, without a doubt. And she's definitely in the world of geek and well respected and creates a lot of cool stuff and shows up in a lot of cool geek stuff. So I would definitely. She's in there.
She does a lot of the cons and everything else. I mean, she's always there. Yeah. So if there is a queen to be held, it's definitely her. I
will acknowledge that she's definitely in the royal court, and then I'll have to ponder whether I would crown her queen or not. But okay. She's definitely in the running. I'll give you that. Anyway, for those who don't know, that Kevin Smith had a massive heart attack. I don't know. It's been a week or two now.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and and he made it. He went to the hospital in time. Had the Widowmaker heart attack, and then but luckily is still with us, and has posted. I encourage people to go read his posts. His very very good, thoughtful, positive posts about what he experienced as it was happening and what his viewpoint is now. So anyway, Kevin, we're glad you're with us. All right, so we're gonna cut to a break. When we get back, we're going to talk more SpaceX and Falcon Heavy and Mars and why it's cool and everything. And we'll also get an update on the MegaWars game that David's been working his heart out on for years and that people are playing now. And it's really come along. So we'll get a quick MegaWars update from David as well when we come back on Shane Plays Geek Talk.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions, Castles and Crusades is the original easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Colonel, the message is Mars needs women.
These were the words that startled the world. This was the reason for an invasion that shocked the Earth. Martians, beings from outer space, with one prime objective: women, Earth women.
So, David Baity.
Oh, that's hilarious.
This is welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey in things we love. If that little teaser coming back from break wasn't a hint, we're talking about Mars today. More specifically, the recent SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch. Of course, Elon Musk and SpaceX have been continually blazing new ground in space exploration, or getting things to space. And one of the most difficult things about space exploration is how expensive it is, because you have to have enough thrust to get outside of the gravity well or whatever of the Earth. And
yeah, that's part of it. And have you seen the banter that's kind of, well, first off, Musk has thrown down the gauntlet of saying that no one's getting to space.
Is this where he'll say he'll eat his hat if somebody beats it? Yeah. I've got that. Well, I'll go ahead and we'll talk about that right now real quick. Yeah, I've got that where he somebody after not long after the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch, somebody I don't know said something, and it was a rival.
Tony Bruno of ULA, of United Launch Administration or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what started it, because Musk was bragging that we won't see anyone get to the power of a Falcon Heavy, blah 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 blah.
Right.
And Tony Bruno, BRUNO, Tony Bruno of ULA said, hang on just a second, we're doing the same thing.
Right.
We're a little more expensive because we're not recovering, but we've got more thrust because we're not sending up extra fuel at the same time. And some people are questioning the $90 million that Musk is putting out as their launch size.
Right. Yeah, that's well, go ahead.
And that also, see, you got to remember too, they've spent $500 million getting the Falcon Heavy to the pad, and it's 5 years late.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, I've got an article from Ars Technica here that I'll share in the show notes. And this is one of the reasons why I like Elon. He's seriously getting stuff done. Super smart guy, super good business guy, great leader, but he's also having fun, like building flamethrowers, and he'll be a real person and jump on Twitter, and he won't just talk in corporate speak. So
yeah.
So you are right. Tony Bruno was in the mix. What started the whole thing evidently was Doug Ellison, who is a Jet Propulsion Laboratory, laboratory JPL visualization producer, did some calculations that said, in some cases, Delta IV Heavy rocket, which the Delta IV is from United Launch Alliance, which is a SpaceX competitor, said that it could. The Delta IV from ULA can match the Falcon Heavy for certain missions. And then Musk responded, said, "Hey, Ellison, your numbers are based on flawed underlying data, and even if they weren't, Falcon Heavy costs substantially less than the competition." So, of course, Tony Bruno, remember, It's Tori Bruno, actually. Did you say?
Is it Tori?
Yeah, it's Tori Bruno, it looks like. I would have said Tony, too, but I'm looking a little bit closer here. And you got to remember, these people, they're having fun, and they're doing the space race, but this is also a business. And this is where people are like, capitalism's evil. Okay, fair enough or whatever. All I can say is when you mix capitalism with the space race, look what starts happening. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not here to get into a political discussion. But Elon Musk, he was like, I'm not sure your numbers are right. And, the Falcon Heavy is $150 million to launch compared to $400 million for the Delta IV. And then that's when Tori Bruno from the United Launch Alliance came in and said, "Oh, well, it'll do all this stuff." And then Musk
then he
said,
started. His price is $350 million.
Right. So they start getting they're trying to control the narrative on how much this costs, because that's really people. I get it. I love space exploration, and we want to go to the stars, and it's an amazing achievement, and it uplifts our spirits and all that. But at the end of the day, right now, it's about how much does it cost to get there. So Elon Musk goes, yeah, that was 3 years ago before ULA canceled all these versions of the Delta IV. And the one they're doing now will be 600 million plus. And he goes, and that'll be after 2020. And that's nutty high. And there's more exchanges. And then finally, Elon Musk said, maybe that plan works out, but I will seriously, and he did this on February 12th. He said, I will seriously eat my hat with a side of mustard if that rocket flies a national security spacecraft before 2023. So he's not saying it won't launch. He's saying it's going to have to launch in a within a certain safety margin and at a certain price that makes it worth the national, some federal organization using it, is what he's saying. So here's why this is a win-win for Elon. One, he's if 2023 comes around, he's like, yep, so I don't have to eat my hat. If he does have to eat his hat, he's got all these wonderful, smart people that can make him an edible hat that tastes good. And then he can market and sell that. So either way, he wins. Either way, he wins.
Sushi hat.
Yeah, sushi hat. So, all right. We will talk more about SpaceX here in a second. Man, you got to give us an update on MegaWars. You've actually have come on the show a couple of times and talked about MegaWars, offline and in our, among our mutual friends and everything. We talk about it fairly often. I've play tested a little bit with you. What's the current state of MegaWars? And in an elevator pitch, remind our listeners what MegaWars is.
Yeah, MegaWars is a space exploration game where you go out, you explore, you grab planets, and you control those planets, and then you fight other players to take theirs away from them. And it's a 30-day battle that allows you to have some fun, and it's mainly a social game. So that's what we do with that. And we entered beta testing, which we're past all the features. All the features are there. We're just trying to make sure they all work. And we've got about 20 players, I think it is, that used to play the original game. And
yeah, this game has a 30 plus year history, right?
Yep. It was all text based.
Yeah.
So we added some graphics to it and modernized it quite a bit. So
all right,
that's where we are.
And I know that
cool.
I know the ultimate answer is it'll be finished when it's finished. But do you have any idea when you might finally go, okay, we're ready to open the gates and bring in the unwashed masses?
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to. I'm hoping that it will be by summer.
Okay.
So,
if people wanted to get in on the beta test, is there room or is it closed right now?
Yep, there's room. No,
okay.
Come on in.
So
come on in.
Best way
be critical but kind.
Best way to contact you.
Megawars.net.
Megawars.net. Okay,
Yeah.
And then also there's a MegaWars Facebook group I encourage people to check out. So it's fun. It's get your planets, build up your empire, and then finally launch mutually assured destruction and hope that you're the person that survives mutually assured destruction so that you can be declared the victor at the end.
That's right.
Okay.
Because we go to the end, it's like Monopoly. If you walked in on a group of friends playing Monopoly and you tried to play, that's what you end up with a lot of the games out now. So because we reset every 4 weeks, it allows you to start at the beginning with everybody. So it keeps everybody fair.
Yeah, and that's one of the main advantages to this game. The game itself, the mechanics are very cool, very fun, but the reason the 30-day thing is important is you don't have to worry about, well, this guy's been playing for 3 years, and there's no way, everybody starts. The only thing that you have at your advantage when the war starts is experience playing the game, and that's it. Everybody has to go out and build up and all that, and that's how it's been for a long time. That's not a new dynamic that you introduced to the game, and it's a proven way to make the game enjoyable for all levels of players.
Well, look at baseball, football, basketball. They all have a limited time. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Right. So. All right. I agree. So, okay, I'm gonna ask you some trivia that I think that you'll have a better chance of getting, because I threw you for a loop with the
music stuff.
Yeah, the music stuff. Yeah. So, all right. What and I think that you'll get this, but what 1981 animated movie did Elon Musk basically recreate the intro from when he launched a convertible into space?
Oh, that was Starman. It was I forget. Oh, no, I remember. No, I don't.
It was Heavy Metal.
It was Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal opens. Yeah, Heavy Metal opens.
Strike 2. Now I'm in trouble.
No, that's not a strike. No,
okay,
the only thing I got a strike for was admitting you haven't seen the new Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Which Zach and I, here's a little more banter that maybe will get my rear out of the fire with Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin, is we were debating before the show, because evidently John Williams doesn't believe the reveal about Ray's parents. I'm not going to say what it is since you haven't seen it yet.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know yet.
But there's a reveal about her parentage. And John Williams, the guy who does all the music for the main Star Wars movies, said, I don't believe it. And I was telling Zach, I was like, a lot of people don't like that, but I liked that. I thought it was good storytelling. And he was like, man, I don't yet. So we had a good conversation. It kind of, the Last Jedi divided a lot of people. I see it as amazing, risky storytelling, and I loved everything it did. And other people are like, you ruined Star Wars, so but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's hard for me to put into words how much I respect the fact that they did some risky storytelling with The Last Jedi. But anyway, yeah, it was a Heavy Metal movie intro, and that opens up with a convertible flying through space and then landing on Earth. And I believe that the name of the song was Radar Rider, because Heavy Metal had a lot of course, rock songs in it and everything. Rock. Okay, so here's
all right. So if you're asking questions, so let me have.
Well, no, I got some more for you. Okay, throw one at me. No, throw one at me. All right, go ahead. No, go ahead. You going to try to give me a strike on my own show?
Zach, I'm going to try to get my strike back.
He's going to try to give me a strike on my own show.
So what year did the Russians go to the moon?
They never went to the moon.
Ah, very good. They're planning in 2025. How many humans have been to the moon?
Okay, step foot or...
How many humans, how many astronauts have been to the moon?
I understand that, but in every moon mission, one person stayed behind in the orbiting part.
Oh, yeah. How many astronauts were launched to the moon? Let's try that.
So it was 3 each mission, and I don't know how many missions. I'm gonna say... I'm going to guess we had 7 missions. I'm going to say 21.
24.
So we had 8 missions.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. It was 3 per. Yeah.
And that takes us back to the Saturn V.
Right.
Just to get a concept of launch vehicles, the Saturn V was $6.4 billion in 1964.
Wow.
The launch vehicles were $185 million, but that's $1969, which would make it $1.6 billion, just to put this $90 billion in perspective.
Right. And then
90 million.
90 million. Yeah. I mean, he's basically, and you got to admit,
it's huge. You were asking how excited I am about this. That is huge. I mean, not only is it, it's close to what the Saturn V did. Saturn V had 7 million in thrust, and we've got 5 million with the Falcon Heavy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's really hard to put into perspective, although that helps a lot, how accessible and affordable SpaceX is making getting into space. The only way to make it easier is to build your spaceships in orbit and launch, because then you don't have any thrust to deal with. But you've got to get all that stuff up there and build it. Okay, so I got another trivia for you there.
So that's why the moon is important.
Yeah, so you're talking about like having a launch base on the moon.
You have 1/6 of the gravity.
Yeah. I'm wondering why is Elon wanting to get to Mars over building something? Is he like the moon's already been done? I want to get us to Mars. Why is Mars so important to everybody now?
Well, it's a great goal, but you're going to have to go to the moon to do it, and that's why the materials on the moon are so important, because we're going to have to set a base there to be able to get there. If we ever want to bring humans home, you're going to have to be able to get to the moon first.
Well, as I understood it, and maybe I'm wrong, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you. And folks, if you don't know, David's a software developer when he's not doing MegaWars, and you've actually worked on some of the software that SpaceX uses, correct?
Well, manufacturing. I'm a machinist, too.
Right.
So it's manufacturing software, not just software, but cutting of the actual parts themselves. So yes, I've got software that's in the SpaceX. In fact, I've talked to their engineers a couple of times several years ago for doing reverse engineering. They would make something, test it, and if it worked right, they'd need to measure it afterwards to make sure, like we talked about 27 engines perfectly aligned. The manufacturing part of that. So I've got software and manufacturing there in the machine shops at the same time. So that's
pretty interesting.
Stuff I've touched.
Yeah, I just asked you to come on. I was like, hey, let's talk about SpaceX, because I knew that you kept up with a lot of stuff. And then you mentioned, after I'd already invited you on for the show, that you're like, yeah, some of the work we've done is actually, so that's really cool. All right, I got a couple of, and these I don't think they're hard trivia, so I'm not trying to give you a strike.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and I'll even make this one easier.
You're going to have to make them really easy. On
the dashboard of the Tesla Roadster convertible that is in space right now with the spacesuit in it named Starman, there's a sticker on the dashboard that says "Don't panic." Which novel series is the phrase "Don't panic" from?
Well, that actually came from a radio series first.
Yeah, look at the big brain on David.
Which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, sir.
And that then led to books and a movie.
Yes, sir. It did start as a radio drama on the BBC and on the Beeb, if you will. And then, that was Douglas Adams' beloved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't panic. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the aspect of Elon Musk that I love. I mean, he's doing some serious, crazy, real business, solving real problems, making stuff happen, but he's also doing it with some flair and some style. And then, of course, go ahead.
Not only that, but there's a lot of opportunity to work there too, and not just manufacturing or scientist type jobs. I mean, they've got line cooks and everything else, because they've got not a restaurant, but a cafeteria there and everything. I mean, if you went to SpaceX.com/career/list, you might find something at one of their eight facilities.
Yeah, no, he's doing a lot. I mean, it's, but he's got, he's, like I said, launching his own, that was his own personal Tesla Roadster with a spacesuit in it, and a don't panic.
Because the batteries were dead.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's got flair. I mean, you can't pay for that kind of marketing. That's
kind of cool.
Yeah, that picture of the Roadster in front of the Earth is just, that's going to be one of those iconic, photos. The spacesuit.
I've seen 3 games made it already. 3 games that were up in Unity test
have already
group that I'm in. Yeah. They've got guns on it, and it's shooting aliens and
of course
everything else. I mean, it's hilarious. I've seen a bunch of parodies with it. I mean,
all right.
It was really kind of cool.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a cultural moment for real culture and pop culture. And then, so the spacesuit is named Starman. And then, what song is, ironically, because you can't hear it in space, but there's a song playing on the car's radio. And what song is that? Do you happen to know?
Oh no, I don't.
It's David Bowie's Space Odyssey.
That
or Space Oddity,
I've heard it, but I don't
Tom
know the name.
And that's the perfect song, right? Because Starman is
definitely.
now lost in space forever. And there's a little bit, I'm about to have to take us to a break, but one of the things that it actually did not achieve the, I don't know what you call it, perihedral orbit or whatever you call it, that it was supposed to do during things got a little bit off during orbital loop insertion because the middle rocket thruster didn't fire exactly the way it was supposed to. But it still did well enough that it's considered a major success. It just didn't hit the exact, it was supposed to go into a certain sort of orbit around Mars. And then they're like, no, it's going to go to the asteroid belt now. But then I've seen stuff that says, no, it's still going to kind of work. So do you know what the current facts are on that? Have you had a chance to look into that?
I think I don't know if you ever played Space Kerbal program.
I know of it. I know of it.
Yeah, basically what happens is if you hit at the right tangent point and you can then go into an orbit, okay? If you miss that tangent point by just a little bit, you kind of catch the gravity well and it shoots you off and you keep going. So, I mean, the math involved of all the moving objects and everything else absolutely is amazing to me because you have to have timing right and everything else. And if you're off a second with the wrong amount of thrust, you could crash into the planet or you could just breeze right by. It's amazing.
Yeah, the math is crazy. All right, I got to get us to a break because we're kind of starting to get short on time. Radio is a predator that stalks us all our lives. After the break, there's a super secret payload that was on the Tesla Roadster that I want to talk about. But all right, so before that, some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you.
It's the Geeky Show. Take a look at the long man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is their life on Mars? The chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1, he said. The chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1, but still they come.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into things we love. I'm joined by my friend and the developer of MegaWars, the 30-day resetting space war MMO, and we're talking SpaceX, Mars or Bust, Falcon Heavy launch, and others, and trying to give each other strikes and getting us knocked off the show. So we're just having a great time today. I meant to give a shout out earlier to one of our mutual friends who's working on as a kind of volunteer worked on MegaWars with you is Matthew. Is it Weymouth or Weymouth? Do you know the?
I think it's Weymouth.
Okay, so Matthew, he's also working on a really cool MMO where I think every character is a real person, and we've talked about having him on the show, so I'm gonna have him on.
You should.
Road,
he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, but he's helped you some with the with MegaWars, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so. he has a very artistic eye that I do not have. I'm the math kind of guy that does the math and figures things out, but no, it's like dancing. I look like I'm being electrocuted.
Yeah, but as long as you're having fun. So, because it's indie games, so you can get electrocuted and still call it cool,
That's right?
Yeah, there you go. And there's a great article out there if people find it. It's called "The Only Video Game Developer in Mississippi," and that's about James. So people should go check that out. Really good article. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes or so. radio always goes so quick. It's like, seems like just once we're getting going, it's time to wind it down. But there's an interesting, this was a news story that I liked a lot. I'm guessing you saw this. Now, this article is from sciencealert.com, but I'm sure other people covered it. SpaceX hit a second secret payload aboard Falcon Heavy, and it sounds amazing. The main payload, of course, was the Tesla Roadster with the Starman spacesuit in it. But there's another payload, and it's have you heard about this?
Yeah, it was some CDs or something. It was, I forgot what it was. I remember seeing and reading, and I go, oh, that's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's
really neat. Yeah, it's so, and this is from the article, stashed inside, and this is from sciencealert.com. Stashed inside the Midnight Cherry Roadster was a mysterious small object designed to last for millions, perhaps billions of years. And also, by the way, people don't know the ultimate fate of this car. Some people theorize it's going to disintegrate. Some people theorize it'll go for millions and billions of years. Some people theorize they're going to launch a recovery salvage in the future and bring it back and like put it in the Smithsonian or something. But anyway, this thing on the Roadster is even in extreme environments like space or on the distant surfaces of far-flung planetary bodies, called an ARC, but it's pronounced ARCH. This tiny storage device is built for long-term data archiving, holding libraries of information encoded on a small disk of quartz crystal, not much larger than a coin. And the ARC Mission Foundation is a California-based nonprofit behind the technology. It could preserve and disseminate humanity's knowledge across time and space for the benefit of future generations. It looks like a shrunk down DVD or Blu-ray, but it can hold up to 360 terabytes of data, and it doesn't degrade like a lot of the storage media that we have now. And here's another trivia question. Don't worry, you're not going to get a strike, David. But do you remember? Okay. Do you remember what information is on the ARC disk that's on the Tesla Roadster in space, which is cruising at a speed of 8,021 miles per hour? Do you remember what's loaded up on that ARC disk?
No, I don't.
Here's another great example.
It's probably one of Musk's games that he wrote.
No, it's Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy.
Oh, really?
I love it. Hilarious. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So, yeah. And then finally, we have one final news object here, or one news item here I want to throw out. NASA, and this is from Gizmodo.com, NASA has officially listed Musk Tesla Roadster as a celestial object.
Yes.
So, yes, it is officially
tracked. They have to track it.
Yeah.
Because it's big enough, they have to track it.
Yep.
So, and then that leads you to the question of, will it run into something?
Yeah.
I mean, really, okay,
right.
So once you're up there without the air, see, oxygen is what causes everything to degrade.
Right.
Okay. So up there without the oxygen and without that, so what can happen to it? Well, it could be bombarded by space particles.
Right.
Okay. Radiation. It could run into something. It could get sucked into the gravity well of something.
Right.
So, I mean, that's really the only choices that you have. Otherwise, it just keeps on
going. It just keeps on going. Yeah. So, exactly. And then, Elon Musk himself is being anywhere from within 7 years to sometime after that, he's thinking we can actually set foot on Mars. We'll see. We shall see. But he's definitely made it a lot more accessible to break the gravity of Earth. And that is going to be so. I mean, there's satellites going up like crazy now, all of a sudden because of this thing. So
actually, 25 are going up on June 13th.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere around June 13th, they're sending 25 of them. So there's money to be made.
Yeah, there is. Plus, it will keep facilitating the ideological side, the starry-eyed part of space exploration. All right, man, I got to wrap us up. I got to do this, Dave. Thanks for coming on. People go check out megawars.net for David's game. I got to close with a bad joke of the week. You ready?
Go for it.
What does a new Tesla smell like?
Batteries? I don't know.
Elon's Musk.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Elon, if you're listening. All right. I got to wrap us up. It's MegaWars or bust. MegaWars.net, and it's Mars or bust as we go into the future. David, thanks for joining. We'll catch up with you later, baby. And everybody else, we'll catch you next week.
This basic system, provided we have filling stations along the way, means full access to the entire greater solar system. All right, so any questions that I can answer?
I wanted to ask you, in behalf of all the ladies, can I go upstairs and give you a kiss, a good luck kiss?
It's very nice to meet you. My name is Aldo, and 3 weeks ago I was at Burning Man in the Nevada desert.
Right.
And it felt like I was in Mars. It was a dusty storm, and it was really cold at night, and there was no water. But there was one problem at Burning Man. With a population of only 75,000, there was a lot of and there was no water to take it into the rivers, which is kind of what we do today in our current sanitation system. So I was like, is this what Mars is going to be like? Just a dusty, waterless storm? So I was like, hey, Elon, are you working on a sustainable sanitation? Are we going to have a toilet in Mars that doesn't use water? Today on Earth, there's 3 billion people that don't have a toilet.
Guys, I actually have to say, we have to keep no essays, only questions.
All right, so are you working on a toilet for Mars?
Hey, Elon, Dick Rocket, New Space Global, you're the best. Everybody get up for Elon, please. This guy inspires the shit out of us. Come on. I've got a gift for you. It's a comic book called The Future of Fusion. It's about the first man on Mars. Okay. Looks like you. I can't get past El Chapo's militia, though. So I don't know, should I just throw this onto the stage?
Sorry?
My question is, can I give you this gift?
Sure, if you yeah.
It's The Future of Fusion. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Quick questions, not essays.
Yeah, quick question. So it's about you sending someone to Mars, but kind of like that first monkey that got shot into space, they're never coming back. It's going to be a one-way trip. So
not necessarily.
Well, maybe. So you mathematically determined the world's most expendable human being to make the journey, and that's Michael Cera. So wanted to see if this is like a project that you might have any interest in supporting. Funny or Die just drove 31 million views to a Hillary Clinton, Zach Galifianakis video a few days ago.
Sorry, we're out of time and have to make way for a new session, so this is going to be our last question.
Sorry, yeah, we have to make room for a new session. Sorry, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. All right.
Ellen, the last question, please.